What's up everyone, it's ENDYMION, and today we got quite a bit to go over from Black Myth Wukong absolutely blowing up in woke freaks' faces as it soars across the charts, making all the money in the world. Beyond this, we have a deranged article from The Gamer that I need to talk about that is so stupid you have to see it. And then I'll talk about the Borderlands movie and how Gearbox's owner Randy Pitchford is going insane over the negative backlash and box office implosion. Firstly, Black Myth Wukong, the game many of us have been waiting for, is almost here. As of the making of this video, it's not quite out yet, it's 9 days from release when this video comes out, but it's coming. And it's looking to be one of the biggest hits of the year, as it's been confirmed as seen here via PC Games. Black Myth Wukong soars on Steam days ahead of launch. The game is currently the #1 selling game on Steam, and it is also within the top 5 most pre-ordered games on PlayStation right now, among other giants, like Call of Duty Black Ops 6 as well. It's safe to say that Wukong is going to be a mega hit, although reviews are of course not out yet. And this is what is worrying me, because every single article that I read about Wukong that I researched for this video, I'm not kidding you, pretty much all of them attempt to slander the game's reputation based on baseless accusations. For example, in this same PC Games article, they randomly say near the bottom, "However, Black Myth Wukong hasn't been without controversy. IGN's 2023 report exposed a history of sexism in game science, including allegations against staff in leadership roles." This IGN report is following Wukong like it's their own shadow at this point. Yet, as I previously reported a month or two ago already, Wukong's devs have denied all accusations, and the people who are pushing this, even in China where game science is located, have been exposed already to be woke freaks who are drunk on the Western Kool-Aid. The part that's the most damning and annoying about the situation is that it's very clear that Western games journalists are attempting to sully and ruin Wukong's reputation and image prior to release because the game doesn't adhere to their theories or their politics. As I also reported before, Wukong's devs allegedly rejected Sweet Baby Inc. wanting to work on the game with them in order to translate the game's themes and story better for a Western audience. Instead, Game Science told Sweet Baby to get lost. They are openly pushing an agenda against this game constantly. Sadly, it's not the only time this has been happening. There was a notorious preview article about Wukong from theguardian.com, where they spent the entirety of the article pretty much just praising the game, saying that its combat is amazing. The bosses are great, there's tons of variety in the forms that you can take on and so on. Yet like PC Games, IGN, and so many others, The Guardian then decided it was due time to derail the conversation and go the old sexism route again. Just the name of The Guardian's article is pure cope. Black Myth Wukong, the summer's most exciting and most controversial video game. Again, it is not controversial whatsoever. They are basing this controversy over botched translations that were being perpetuated by a single IGN journalist named Rebecca Valentine. None of these claims hold any water. Yet The Guardian is trying to push Wukong as the year's most controversial game. Like, what? If anything, there's far more controversial games for other reasons that actually matter and have been proven as fact. Helldivers 2 comes to mind with the PSN login issue and how Arrowhead knew prior to launch that it would eventually be needed for Steam users, but they decided to omit that information in order to secure as many sales as humanly possible before they imploded. Or what about Suicide Squad, which ended up effectively killing Rocksteady and ruining the Arkham franchise by injecting woke feminist nonsense and being one of the ground zero accounts for the whole Gamergate 2 situation and Sweet Baby Inc. explosion. Those games, I would wager, were and still are far more controversial in terms of what actually defines what that word even means in the first place. Saying that Wukong is controversial because Rebecca Valentine of IGN can't read Chinese properly because she hired a random Chinese intern to help her interpret, who, by the way, IGN still hasn't paid that Chinese translator yet for their work on the article, doesn't exactly equate to a verifiable source of good, honest information. Even back in June, the Mary Sue ran a similar article stating that Wukong is the year's most controversial game based on information that also has no actual source that has yet been proven true. Like, just listen to what the Mary Sue says here, dude. This is crazy. Again, remember that these claims are baseless, and I quote, "In November of 2023, IGN published a deep dive into toxic, unprofessional work environment rife with misogyny and fat phobia cultivated at Black Myth Wukong studio Game Science. A report made by anonymous workers at the studio revealed multiple male employees making horrible sexist remarks like a friends with benefits perk listed on a job recruitment poster. Fatties should F off was written on another poster. If that wasn't gross enough, there's more. Developers at the studio also said that women shouldn't be allowed to play games made by the company, insisting that there are biological differences between men and women in terms of skill level. That level of misogynistic behavior should not be tolerated by anyone, especially given how bad the gaming industry is to women already." One female Chinese game designer speaking under the alias of Jen commented on the situation, telling IGN's Rebecca Valentine and Ki Hoon Chan, "These male developers have never paid the price for their misogynistic remarks. In their eyes, women don't deserve respect. Even just listening to them is considered pandering, a marketing tactic, and catering to Western political correctness. I can't describe how despairing this feels." End quote. Honestly, it feels as if the game's journalists are trying to turn Wukong into the next Hogwarts Legacy level event in terms of controversy. They're trying so damn hard to disparage and ruin this game's reputation simply because Game Science won't play ball with them, and it's crazy. Again, like I said, the translations were mistranslated and Chan has still not been paid by IGN for the work that they did on that article. Yet this journalist Rebecca Valentine has been pushing these words she can't even read without a translator as gospel herself. It's crazy. It would be like me saying that Rocksteady, when they made Batman Arkham Knight or Asylum or City, that they sent a man dressed as Batman to my house to beat me senseless because they don't like me. And even though that I have zero evidence of this happening, you have to believe me, otherwise you're somehow a sexist bigot. Like, are we really getting to the point where these journalists are attempting to write fabricated stories out of thin air in order to form narratives that benefit them? Are the voices in their heads telling them to write that Wukong is bad because Game Science is based? Did Khalif Adams help with these articles? Because it sounds like it. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if Black Myth Wukong ends up getting ignored come any award season this fall, the same way that Hogwarts Legacy did as well. If you hadn't noticed, every single game pretty much across the board that is nominated in any way, shape, or form at any of these websites, they all pretty much have a bias towards supporting what the industry finds important. Diversity, equity, inclusion, strong female characters, and usually evil white men. The only outliers these past few years come award season is pretty much anything that is made by From Software, because they're so good that even the woke activist cabal can't ignore FromSoft's brilliance. But it's why I think Hogwarts Legacy was not nominated for anything at all, because you don't just ignore the highest selling game of 2023 that beat Call of Duty for God's sakes for no reason. It's cause it was based on Harry Potter, which of course is made by J.K. Rowling. And I can almost guarantee you that come this year that Wukong will suffer the same fate. They will review it lower on purpose to dissuade players from buying it. Then they'll use those lower scores to justify why it was not nominated for anything either, saying that it just simply wasn't good enough. Yet we both know if Wukong accepted Sweet Baby, they would be praising this game and showering it with gifts and awards. Cause it's a really big club and you and I and Wukong apparently were not allowed in it. Like, this is so ridiculous. Listen to what The Guardian said during their interview with Wukong's devs when they got to play it, and I quote, "I am unfortunately met with very little honest communication when I bring up a report from IGN which related alleged sexist comments from multiple developers at Game Science as well as those in leadership roles. I present Ted with the opportunity to address the claims of misogynistic posts and whether he feels that they represent Game Science's values. Instead, I am shut down with a hasty no comments from their UK PR representative and then after a long wait given a longer statement of no comment via Ted's translator. I am then told that Game Science's US PR agency will follow up later with a prepared statement only to send the following. Game Science is focused on the demo at this time and will only answer questions related to gameplay. The same thing happened to an IGN reporter at a demo in Los Angeles last month. It is disappointing that Game Science is opting to invite journalists to speak to them and play the game, but refusing to answer their questions. Perhaps there is no reassurance to offer. A generous reading of the situation would be that this inexperienced studio is petrified of saying the wrong thing. Yet in failing to say anything at all, Game Science is also failing to distance itself and its game from the multiple crude, disparaging, and misogynistic comments attributed to its employees and leadership." End quote. Zero actual evidence, botched mistranslations, and a fabricated narrative, and they're still beating Game Science over the head to respond to something they have no proof of happening. It's like how Grum said once on Twitter, this would be like accusing someone of attacking their wife. And even though you have no evidence of this even happening whatsoever, you continue to berate and attack a husband for something that he never did because you just don't like men. It's disgusting, it's pathetic, but it's totally on brand for woke freaks in the year that is 2024. As for me, I'm buying Wukong day one. You best believe that I'll be playing it. And knowing me, I'll try to platinum it as well like I do many other games because I'm a masochist. And I love to torture myself by getting all the trophies in games that I play. Now, let's move on to this really stupid and insane article from The Gamer titled, "Does Deadpool dethroning the Passion of the Christ actually say anything about American culture?" The title alone is already insanely stupid, but man, does it get even dumber the more you read it. Like, just listen to what The Gamer says here and tell me if this person needs to take a chill pill or not. Again, reminder, this is about Deadpool and Wolverine dethroning the Passion of the Christ, yet they say, and I quote, "Deadpool and Wolverine recently passed the Passion of the Christ at the domestic box office, making it the biggest R-rated movie of all time in North America. This broken record inspired people on social media to become broken records, repeating the same joke that nothing could be more indicative of American culture. Is that true? Maybe, but what exactly does it indicate? The implied joke is that the United States really loves Christianity and really loves superhero movies, maybe even more. That like a country musician putting odes to the good Lord and Grey Goose on the same album, we love the sacred and the profane in equal measure. The Passion of the Christ is what Americans feel like they should like. Deadpool is what they actually like. Deadpool is partying on Saturday nights, the Passion is dutifully heading to church on Sunday morning. And that hyper-violence, whether inflicted via crucifixion or, well, actually there's a crucifixion in Deadpool 3 too, is the one thing we will consistently turn out to see. All of that is true. American culture is defined by its relationship to violence, sometimes active, sometimes passive. Our government is defined by inaction, which prevents anyone from doing anything about the tens of thousands of people dying from gun violence each year. Our primary mode of transportation is uniquely violent too, with car accidents causing more than 40,000 deaths in 2023. We have nearly 800 military bases around the world, and it's rare for the US to not be at war. We incarcerate more people than any other country in the world. The US is a violent country, and it makes sense that our defining R-rated movies would be extremely violent to match. So maybe the success of The Passion of the Christ and Deadpool and Wolverine actually teaches us that franchises triumph overall. Whether the source is a comic book or the good book, audiences will turn out for names they recognize." End quote. What the hell are they smoking over at The Gamer, dude? How do you look at Deadpool and Wolverine beating Passion of the Christ and then you somehow turn the conversation into how there's gun violence in America and car deaths and there's 800 military bases around the world and America is always at war? Can't these journalists just be happy that people went out to enjoy a good movie? Why are journalists like this? People didn't see Deadpool and Wolverine because it somehow reinforces their love of violence or whatever this journalist is trying to say. They saw it because the movie had two characters that they liked and it didn't talk down to them and it wasn't drowning in wokeness. Like, be serious now. Like, goddamn, man, every day when I make videos and whatnot, I think to myself, maybe, just maybe, that games journalists will one day see how crazy they really are. And every day, I'm not kidding you, like the Joker, they just seem to find new ways to reach new lows like this. Like, you guys are all crazy, dude. Insane. Why does everything need to somehow reinforce some weird worldview that these people have? All of it is so stupid, and I wager that we'll see plenty of equally brain-dead, rotted takes in the coming months as well. I just really wanted to show you guys that article because I just don't know what, like, they're just, I'm a loss of words, man. I really don't know what to say. Let's just keep moving on because my god, that was so stupid. But anyways, speaking of being brain dead, Borderlands is apparently doing horrible at the box office as well. The film has grossed barely even $10 million on its opening day, and the movie also costed over $100 million to make, and reports are suggesting that the film might not even make $20 million in its entire run domestically, if you can believe it. Which means that the Borderlands movie will go down as one of the biggest bombs in movie history, and the film also has a D+ rating on CinemaScore, which is apparently the lowest rated film by audiences this year so far as well. By the way, Borderlands fan score in opening is somehow even worse than Madam Web, if you can believe it. So yes, we are likely looking at the worst performing movie of the year so far. I would be amazed if anything does worse than Borderlands this year. But then you have Randy Pitchford, who owns Gearbox, the magician guy that makes the games and all of that. He has been going on a blocking spree. He's just blocking anyone and everyone who hates this movie. For example, there's Killer 6, who's a big Borderlands content creator. They saw the film and they said publicly that they didn't like it. And now Randy Pitchford has blocked them, and they said via Twitter, well, that's one way to handle criticism. Like, big yikes that Borderlands owner is now blocking people who literally do free advertising for your franchise like this for years. Like, imagine how bad Killer 6 feels. It's disrespectful if you ask me of Randy to do something like that. One user then replied, "What's this mean for your future in Borderlands, dude? Holy, that's insane." And then Killer 6 replied back, "Doesn't mean anything. I love the games and I'll be playing Borderlands 4. Maybe I won't get early access though, depends on how mad he is at me, I guess." But I mean, it's not Killer 6's fault that Borderlands the movie is ass, and I think based on the abysmal performance of this movie, it's pretty clear that Gearbox, from a story and character standpoint at least, that they have no idea what fans want from the series anymore. And this release of the movie, which is bad, makes me worried about the upcoming Borderlands 4 game, or whatever they end up calling it. Because Borderlands 3's story and characters were beyond awful, and I hope Gearbox learned to make more compelling characters and story than what was presented there. And knowing how personally connected Randy Pitchford is to Borderlands as an IP, I'm sure the movie tanking is going to cause that guy to go into a deep depression. But the answer to something like this is to not block people or go completely scorched earth. You shouldn't be attacking your fans and biggest supporters because what you made is not what they want. In moments like these, the best thing to do is to make sure that the support structure is there. Sadly, that's not what Randy Pitchford is doing. Borderlands has been struggling for a long time trying to find itself, and it looks like the 5 years after Borderlands 3 that Gearbox has learned nothing yet either, which is just, how are you guys doing this, dude? But this just proves why now, more than ever, that we need to support the things that actually do give us what we want and value our time and commitment. Unfortunately, most new things coming out from the West do look like hot garbage, but at least we have upcoming releases like Wukong and Visions of Mana to look forward to as well. But it's not even the West. Even sometimes the Japanese get it wrong too, which brings me to the final story of the video. Like a Dragon, Yakuza actor reveals Prime Video banned him and others from playing the game so show could explore characters from scratch. The two main actors for Like a Dragon, Yakuza's live-action show on Amazon Prime said that they were explicitly told to not play the games in order to not get too attached to the source material. This was said to Ryoma Takuchi, who plays Kiryu, and Kendo Kaku, who plays Nishiki. When asked at Comic-Con, the two main actors said in a joint statement, and I quote, "I know these games, everybody in the world knows these games, but I haven't played them. I'd like to try them, but they had to stop me because they wanted to, for the character in the script, explore from scratch. That's why I decided not to play. I definitely knew the property very well, but I didn't realize the franchise was this globally big. We decided we would make sure we would do our own version, relive the characters, take their spiritual elements, and embody them on our own. There was a clear line we wanted to draw, but everything on the bottom was respect." End quote. This doesn't really fill me with excitement whatsoever, fellas, because I love the Yakuza games, or Like a Dragon as they're known globally now. Kiryu, for example, is one of my all-time favorite characters. It sucks even more because apparently the show won't even have any karaoke scenes either. Like, what the hell are you guys doing over there? This is supposed to be Like a Dragon, isn't it? And no karaoke scenes? In a show about Yakuza? Like, what's the point? It's like what George Martin once said when it comes to adapting the source material. He made Game of Thrones, you know who he is. Anyway, he said once, fantasy needs to be grounded. It is not simply a license to do anything you like. Smog and Toothless may both be dragons, but they should never be confused. Ignore canon, and the world you've created comes apart like tissue paper. I think what George said here echoes true for both this Like a Dragon adaptation and that awful Borderlands movie as well. If you're gonna make something out of a beloved IP but feel embarrassed or refuse to adhere to the principles and concepts within that IP, then your IP is only the IP in name. And like always, these will just fail. Of course, I don't know if this Like a Dragon show will be bad or not. I will be watching it because, again, I love the game so much. But it really doesn't fill me with confidence knowing that the people behind it went out of their way not to experience the source material. Dear Hollywood and whoever else, just stop doing this, please. The more you try to ignore the source material behind things, the worse your products always become. The best and most well-received projects based on beloved IP were always done by people who actually knew the franchises that they were adapting. Stop being morons. I know it's hard sometimes to not do that, but put your egos aside and just stop making slop. As for the games journalists being unhinged lunatics attacking Chinese developers and saying that movies like Deadpool and Wolverine only did well because Americans are intrinsically violent, y'all need to stop being so hateful and crazy too. Everybody just has to take a chill pill, or we're gonna end up with even more stupid stuff that I'm going to unfortunately have to cover in the future. But for now, I think that's enough. I'm tired. Stop attacking games because they don't adhere to Sweet Baby, and give adaptations the love and respect they deserve, guys. Come on. Or if you don't want to, I guess you can enjoy losing money. It's up to you. But thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, and share. Thanks to my members and patrons, and have a wonderful day, everyone. Let's make common sense more common again these days, and I'll see you in the next one.